Today we are talking with Oliver Hollingdale, an amazing filmmaker who cut his teeth making some incredible Viking films and now is embarked on a brand new project of a beautiful fantasy film that everybody's got to see called Gallowmere.
Yeah, hello. Thanks
Hey,
for having me. Good
yeah.
to be back.
So, Oliver, you sent me the preview trailer of what you guys are up to, and it looks super cool.
Oh,
Like,
thank you. Yes, so that's
yeah,
been sort of block one of filming. I think we didn't hit our target with the last one, so we're back with doing a second one. So whatever money we raised for the first one, which is just a little over a thousand British pounds, we utilized. We started shooting scenes that we could kind of accommodate with the budget, and so we kind of got the ball rolling. We've exhausted funds very easily,
oh, yeah. I
mainly
mean,
due for I think it's just a lot kind of more for the accommodation and the fuel problems that we've been going on.
yeah,
It just
I
oh
mean, you
my
could blow
god.
that much money on just like food for the
How,
actors, you
most of it
know?
all went on. I mean, yeah, it was just crazy. I just couldn't believe it. It's just the
Well,
logistics.
I
I'm
can't
very
believe how good it is what you've done on like almost zero budget.
I'm very,
Yeah,
very lucky and blessed with the people who we have involved. For example, like the costume guy, Christopher, he's a costume creator at his sort of IP brand called the Norse Dragon Armory. Yeah, he's stepped in and volunteered his free time and efforts to with costumes and things. So I mean, that's one of the was the biggest head scratchings, thinking like, oh my god, costumes, because if
yeah,
if you go down to like a Halloween fancy dress costume and get some Renaissance, it's just gonna look really like LARPing, LARPing in
yeah,
the woods.
yeah.
So and I was working in the early days, budgeting, crunching numbers, thinking, my God, this is going to be about 800 per character. Spend it, it's 4 characters, and it's going to be, if we're going to build these costumes from scratch. So
Right.
just every day I'm just like, my God, thanks to Christopher for believing in our ideas and what we're trying to do. He came to the production meeting in the pre-production stage and kind of really just pitched everything that we're trying to do. And yeah, he's just been absolutely a diamond in everything. So yes, so thankfully in that kind of respect, from costumes, perfect, and the cameras, we're blessed to live in an age now where we have such a great arsenal of technology around us,
Right.
and cameras that all shoot 4K at really great resolutions and great color formats. So yeah, is never better time to
To
be a
do this kind of
filmmaker.
thing. Yeah.
There's no kind of excuse to get out there and start shooting stuff, no matter how bad or good it is. But the one thing that we're just thinking, raising the money for is just to help with the logistics side of things, getting
Right.
people to do and from, whether it's like maybe like at some point we'll probably need to hire like a small minivan, chuck everything in, move people. It's just trying to funding to kind of get the well-oiled machine as best as we can with logistics. Yeah, everyone's doing it off their own back, so literally it's just going into just making sure we can just get to where we want to get to shoot, because
Right.
we've got everything. That's the beauty of it.
The thing is, I mean, what you're trying to do like the impossible, which is, but you're pulling it off is a film on literally no budget, right? So you're just, and everybody's doing it volunteer, right?
Yes, everyone
Yeah, you're
is.
holding it to the standards of like a multi-million-dollar film, you know?
It's yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It is really tough. However, it's just trying to know what we can pull off well versus, oh yeah, let's we want a dragon or we want a huge battle sequence. Our main story doesn't focus on those, I guess, cliches, as it were. Because I watch a lot of fantasy, from high end all the way down to sort of B movie thing, because I like to kind of see what works and doesn't work, and
Right,
it informs me of, all right, if we end up doing this, what's the kind of do's and don'ts.
right,
So I've seen a lot of B movies, fancy films that are online, or you can buy like in the sort of the bargain bin discount section in the supermarket, and a lot of times they always do the classic dragon.
right.
which unless you've got Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings budget,
It's gonna look
it's gonna
dumb.
look it's just gonna cheapen the whole production right down. And
Right. Well, or what
same
you
with,
could do is if you've got a halfway decent CGI dragon, but it still is obviously CGI. I mean, you could really set it up so that the lighting is super dark, and somehow you can obscure it and cover that
yeah,
up.
you have to think about, the sort of the less is more, hinting at it,
Right.
showing glimpses of it. And yeah, if they do that, but I know there's a lot of these fantasies that they can go, we've got a dragon and they've got it doing aerials or breathing fire, and you can tell it's just stock
All
footage stick
fake, yeah.
together, and even
Yeah.
the flames don't match color contrast, and the dragon's paws are just stiff. It has no
Yeah.
articulation, and the wings are kind of and yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
just
because partly because you get into the thing where it's a fan film. So then you have someone who wants to do VFX for you, and you're like, oh, great, okay, but it's all volunteer. So when
yeah.
they give you something that's, really not that good, it's not like you can fire them or something, or you're like, hey,
Yeah, no,
you're
of
not paying them.
course.
So I think what happens is a lot of those films get into that situation where they're more interested in the community spirit of it. And so they have to let
Absolutely.
things go
Yeah,
for the sake of the
absolutely.
community project. So, but you're
Absolutely.
obviously you're on a different level where like you have really high standards, so you're able to walk that line. And I guess probably you just right up front you you get everybody to really buy into, even though this is a low budget fan film, it's
Mm,
super high quality, and that's what we're going for, right?
absolutely. And yeah, with this, with the kind of, we're focusing on the story and the characters and trying to establish this kind of small, kind of big, developing story in this big world. And so we're kind of looking at things like, okay, locations and things like that. We want to kind of show
Beautiful
that
location shots.
the locations are part of this world. And okay, we may be shooting in a lot of forested areas,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to kind of show different types of forests. So every time we see a shot there, it shows they're moving from place to place. So
Mm-hmm.
one minute it looks very different, and then it just kind of treating the environment as a character in itself,
Yeah.
because we want to stand out from the kind of the B movie
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic. And it's kind of like, how can we do that? Because we want people to look at it and they're going to go, well, yeah, it is a low budget piece, but my God, they've done a really good job. And God, if they had a huge budget, what these guys could do, if we kind of get that response from people who see Gallowmere, we would be very happy. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just trying to overcome these kind of technical and or kind of visual hitches when it comes with fantasy. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at 1 second into the trailer, right? And I just freeze framed it. And you've got, it's like even this freeze frame looks great. Like I think it's an elfin girl, yeah, who's, you can see her arrows. And then there's another guy who's like maybe an elf, but he's got magic powers. So he's like a druid or something like that.
Yeah.
His eyes are glowing and he's going like this.
Yep.
But even that freeze frame looks super good. I mean, if you took that, and I can see you guys already did some of those effects, like it's fuzzed out a little bit, and then it looks like it's color corrected using DaVinci or something like that.
Oh yeah, Da Vinci's the
And
way.
then the the special effect of this glowing guy's glowing eyes look really good.
Great.
Yeah, they look
Good. Yeah, it's
super
just
cool.
we're very conscious as well of to have, when there is magic in the finished piece, that it looks good, and it serves a purpose, to the story, and it's not trying to show off too much, because again, I just think we live in a world where I think we're so desensitized by
You
so
take it
much
for granted, yeah.
CGI. That's
Yeah.
correct. And our heroes in the story, they are facing a evil sort of entity from this kind of shadow plane, almost like a necromancery type thing. And at the moment, we're discussing on how that's going to look in the final act. because again, there's so many different ways you can go with it. But if it doesn't work out on pulling it off well, all right, what we're still going to do is we're going to build the tension, build this threat up all the way through the story. Kind of rely on the less is more. The unknown is the more terrifying thing. And as our heroes, we start in the story, it's very beautiful forests and things like that. And then when they go to as they get closer and closer to where they need to go, it gets darker. The colors drain from the image there, and we're going to shoot a lot of it sort of towards autumn time. So it looks like the leaves are falling off. So we give off the impression that the woods and the landscape is sick, and it's it just feels like it's been corrupted by whatever this darkness is spreading. So things like that, visual cues, and through conversations of our characters and moments, we're building this threat. So when we do come to the final third act of the story, whatever we can do, it has weight to it. So if we do something where it's quite fantastical with magic, it feels earned. It feels like it's okay. We've built up this threat. Yeah, they got to do what they can now to stop it.
That's neat. Yeah. So you're heavily influenced by Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh, who isn't?
Did you also see, like when I was a kid, when I was in high school, the movie Excalibur came out. Did you ever see that movie?
I saw that I've seen it in pieces. I've seen it since, but as a kid, I've seen it in broken up as a kid, because it used to be on TV. Yeah. As I kind of saw odd bits broken up as it was replayed on certain channels. But yeah, I did enjoy it, because I mean, when he had the sword, it was so glowing, all the studio lights hitting his armor. He just looked so sparkly.
And also that was like, I mean, nowadays we're used to it, but back then that was one of the first movies that I remember where you had knights fighting, and their armor looked really realistic, and their weapons and everything, and the whole thing was kind of set up to a new level. And at the time, everybody was really into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, including me. And LARPing hadn't happened yet. So that movie was like a big deal for us. And also, we were teenagers, and it was like one of our first rated R movies that I went to. So it was exciting for that, too. Yeah. Wow, that's something. Yeah, now I'm looking at the next freeze frame, which is like 2 seconds in, where it's showing the guy holding his Excalibur type of sword it's a magic sword because it's got some mist and some glowing stuff coming off it.
Yes.
So
yes, that plays a component in this story as well.
Yeah. And again, the effects look really good. Yeah. Do you guys do those effects in DaVinci, or how do they do that?
Primarily, at the moment, I do a lot of the visual effects myself.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, so it's something that I've been very into over the last since I was in my teens, starting from so a lot of it I do myself. But as we kind of get deeper into production, it will be looking to other people to jump in and do some really interesting polish.
So how did you do it? How did you do the glowing eyes?
So Adobe After Effects, the Creator Suite, I've used it for over 10 years. It's just so good for that. DaVinci does have a VFX sort of interface called Fusion. But yeah, it's just need time to learn it. That's the kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so I do those shots in After Effects and then color grade it in DaVinci.
Okay, wow. So you're the one who also edits everything?
Yes, okay. I'm a bit of a one-man band at the moment when it comes to the post-production side.
My kind of guy. Okay, finally.
Yeah, I do enjoy it.
So you're the editor. Do you also write the script?
Yeah, I came up with this story with a good friend of mine called Craig. He's in the film. He's the one actually holding the sword.
Okay, so you're the editor of the script. You're the producer, obviously. Are you also the director?
Yeah, that's my main. I think it's a directing and closely with the kind of the cinematographer as well. and then
Cinematographer, so you're actually also behind the camera sometimes? Are you the camera
yeah, a
person
lot of the
also?
time, yeah, I've got a good friend of mine. I've got two people who are involved in helping shoot scenes, and these are two guys who together we've worked on the Viking stuff before, and so between the three of us, we have that same aesthetic. We kind of discovered that visual language that we like together through trial and error, and then we did the Viking stuff,
Right.
and so we just gelled through that. So there is a consistency going forward with if I'm on the camera, or one of the guys called Morgan, or the other guy called Danny. Those guys, whoever's on camera and stuff like that, we work so well together that we can create it creates that consistency with visual look, because we're just so in tune with each other for it and stuff. So yeah, so it's really good. So yeah, I'm manning the camera a lot of the time. So it's just all of us with cameras just shooting.
Wow. Okay, I want to dig into the weeds big time now. So you mentioned when we were talking about 4K, you mentioned that you had certain settings on the camera that you did, and see, I just assumed that you would just shoot it completely raw with basically no real settings and try to get it as sharp as you can, and then once you get it into your software like Premiere Pro or DaVinci,
Yep.
then that's where you start messing with it. Like, and
Yep.
especially one thing that's cool about 4K, of course, it's so sharp that you could still shoot it wide, and then you can now in the software you can still do some zooming and panning in the
Oh,
software if you want,
absolutely,
and you won't be able to
absolutely.
tell.
It's so useful. It's so useful because again, things sometimes you might have a shot which is shaky, and you think,
Hmm.
oh damn it, God, I just at the time it looks fine, but because again, slight nudges or whatever, you're standing awkwardly shooting something, and when you get it in the editing, you see it on the full screen, you think, oh, it's. But if you shot on 4K and you do like an image stabilization through the software, it crops in a little bit because it tries to anchor
Hmm.
in the shot. So you're having the 4K, it crops in a bit to stabilize.
Right.
Well, that's great. That's a perfect thing, because again, you've got the detail there to allow the software to do that. So
Hmm.
now you've got a nice stable shot if something like that happens. No, it is a fun process. I do
Yeah.
enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I just think I think the hardest thing is just because filming, it's just never shot in sequential order. It's just all
Hmm.
shot arse to face, back to front, left and right, up and down. And then it's just trying to remember in my head, okay, well, what we shot there, that's going to go with something later on, and whatever we shoot there, that's connect. And it's just trying to organize all the folders ready for when we get all
What's
the
next?
pieces, and trying to remember that connects to that one to make
Okay.
sense or whatever.
Do you have a continuity person, or are you also that person?
I mean, I do my best, but at the same time, I have kind of designated each actor to be like, right, you are in charge of
Okay.
making sure that you've got the exact costume on.
And you
And
cannot get a haircut until we're
oh
done doing
God,
that
that's one of
scene.
the hardest things. That's one of the hardest things with because I mean, if by the filming gods we were blessed with, say, someone said, here's 10,000 to finish Gallowmere, well then okay, we could book off 2 weeks and we could just shoot it non-stop and get it done. But I'm thinking of a worst case scenario. I said to these guys from the beginning, guys, we could be most likely be shooting on and off for the rest of the year. So commit to what hairstyle you want, whether it is shorter or long, beard
And
or no
stick to
beard,
it.
and you got to stick to it. There's one
Yeah.
thing that I've learned over the years. I've been to so many seminars that have had producers, filmmakers. Even I've gone to the BAFTA headquarters, which is like a prestigious, the one below the Oscars in London, where they
Uh-huh.
do talks of all these kind of filmmakers and things like that. And it's all great. You kind of learn their history when they first started out to where they got to. And there's always that kind of gap in the middle where it's just like they just did, before they were like independent to all of a sudden their first feature. And there's always this kind of hazy gray area where they never quite answer correctly. So when they do the Q&A, always the first answer is, well, how did you get in the industry? And always the response from everyone, all these talks I've been to, goes, well, I was actually quite lucky actually, because I was doing something and it took me down a different path that I never quite expected. And so there's no
It just
right or
happens.
way. It's just no right or way. But I just think you've got to keep going, because if you know things like anything creative or whatever, if it was easy, everyone would do it. You know, and same with filmmaking. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And yeah, a lot of people have an idea. Oh, I'd love to make a film, because you can use an iPhone now. That's the new iPhone 13. It shoots to Apple ProRes RAW. You can shoot a film. You can shoot something on it, and it looks amazing. But again, a lot of people realize quite quickly that, oh, well, yeah, lighting, this, you need to have a cast, you need to have a story, and oh no, how do I edit? And a lot of people go, I can't be bothered.
I'm not doing it.
I'll just stick to doing selfies on TikTok or something like that. It's much easier. So it's just, you got to, just got to keep going, because I think with any kind of creative, whether you're a writer, game developer, an artist, poetry, or whatever, you just got to keep going, grow a thick skin, because there's going to be thousands upon thousands of no's, but somewhere at some point it just takes that one person to go, you know what? I don't know. I like what this person does, he or she. I like what they do. Yeah, you know what? I'll give them a chance, and you just never know.
Not only are you an artist, a filmmaker, cinematographer, you know how to be an editor, you know how to write scripts, but also you have to be an excellent manager, right? And you have to be able to inspire people and work with all these things. I mean, these are all skills that successful managers have, and unsuccessful managers, which seems to be about 90% of them, don't have.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just communicate. I think it's down to communication. Communication, not having an ego, and just being open and honest. I've always just carried that for everything that I've done. But you have a vision, and you have to lead, and you can't just be totally wishy-washy. You have to get stuff done. But somehow you have that, you're one of those type of people who are able to be the nice guy and empowering and get people on board, and yet make the calls and lead them to where they need to go when it needs to happen. Yeah. Obviously, because the product that you produce is so good. Yeah, I don't have a straight answer for that. I don't know. I guess they believe in the vision, and it's something that I've sat with for many years, that I've always wanted to do filming, but I'm not just going to go, right guys, I'm going to make a film, and then it's just an idea that I've just had, but I've just really thought about it for years. I've really practiced. I've really honed the craft and the skills and the visions, experiments, trial and error. And I've got to that point after doing the 2 Viking stuff that I thought, oh yeah, no, I feel I'm in that place now that I can now do a good story. Yeah. With actors and things like that. So I think that is kind of the patience and the long game. I think that's kind of.
So this is your first film of this scale.
Yes, because I've done loads of short films and things like that in the past. That some that I've never seen, but the 2 Viking stuff is the first time where I've been like, oh yeah, no, I'm really, really proud of what we've done. Yeah, it's not without its flaws, like anything. Nothing's ever perfect. But I thought, right, okay, I feel like I can bring it to the table and go, guys, this is what we're trying to do. This is the idea for Gallowmere. This is the scope, and and these are the things that I feel confident that I can pull it off in a way that is done well and it looks good. It doesn't come off cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, like kind of what we were talking about, there's that, you're trying to create that illusion or that effect of quality, that thing.
Yeah.
The people, your lay person can kind of identify it and say, yeah, that's a quality thing. But then it's up to you and to realize all that it takes to make that sensation, But that's the art of it. Yeah. Cool.
It's all fun and games.
Very good. Okay, so most people on my show, you do know Star Trek too a little bit, right?
Yeah, I've dabbled in so many different.
Then we can do Live Long and Prosper. Okay, let's see. So you got to go like this. There we go. Live long and prosper, my friend. I look forward to seeing some more of your amazing work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being so supportive as always. Really.
Oh yeah, we'll get back together again. So until next time.
Until next time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take